Welcome to our Startup with Farah show. Thank you for tuning in. Most people in the startup and the business world in general, they associate the starting a business, becoming a millionaire, or financial freedom and other similar tropes with starting a product-based business. It seems that the word entrepreneurship, it usually makes people think of product businesses. Now, why is this so? I think this is part due to a cultural shift that happened in the 80s and the 90s, where several small Silicon Valley underdogs became global powerhouses. So business tycoons no longer came from the ranks of the Rockefeller or the Carnegie-like families. From content creators to incubators to mainstream programs like Shark Tank, almost everything breathes and smells product. I'm here to bring some of the spotlight on the underrated services sector. I myself started, grew, and sold several service businesses with 7 or 8 figures. But this is not about me. According to trade.gov, professional services firms in the US, they've generated trillions of dollars. And the last data I was looking at from a few years ago, I think 2019, it was $2 trillion. So there's a whole lot of revenue to be had in the services space. And as just one point of reference, if you look at the chart that we have here on the screen, this is from Statista. You'll see in terms of revenue, you'll see the market size 15 billion, 60 billion, 70 billions. This is all just from the consulting market. It doesn't include all services outside of consulting. So I'm not sure if you see the slides here. I want to make sure that's yeah. So professional services can definitely be a great business route for those of us who want to own a business, solve a problem in the world, make more money, and build a strong organization. In total, there are 10 differences between service and product businesses. Last week, we covered these fives, and let me make sure we have them on the slides here. Yep. So we talked about the nature of the offering itself, the difference between what you offer as a service provider versus as a product company. We talked about the ease of starting and pivoting. We talked about overhead and inventory. How is that different between a services company and a product company? How you compete with larger companies, the pros and cons, and then also in terms of scaling. If you're a services business provider, you want to scale. What's involved there? A lot of labor, a lot of people, a lot of hiring is required. Versus a product company, you can scale without maybe having to put a lot of hiring a lot of people. Obviously, there are other considerations that we discussed last week. So we will leave a link in the description to last week's episode. But today, I want to explore the next 5 differences between the two and learn how services can offer a path to building a successful business. And I want to note that I'm not here, my goal here is not to create some hype about service businesses, but to help you understand the differences between the two types. So this way you understand what you're getting yourself into and you understand what comes with starting a business. I do believe, though, that services make strong, viable, very profitable businesses for reasons I'll be explaining throughout this episode today. And before we jump into the 5 remaining differences, a few housekeeping items. One is, would love to hear your comments, your questions. You can leave a question in the comment, or you can send that offline through the form we have in the description. You can also join us next Wednesday. We have these episodes every Wednesday where we cover a business topic, and we also answer all the questions that come our way from our community. And last but not least, whether you're watching or listening to this episode live or you're tuning in later, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment, share with me your small and big wins, and also any struggles, any challenges that you have, and thoughts about starting the business, growing the business, planning for the rest of the year, hiring. Love to hear from you. Be more than happy to be of help. So leave us a comment, send us a question or an email on our website, startupaffairs.com. That's an FERAS, my first name, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions and share hopefully some advice so that you can avoid the mistakes I made when I was building and growing my businesses. Alrighty. So let's go into the sixth difference, and that is to do with the revenue model. So this is a pretty foundational difference. In services businesses, typically you charge your clients based on billable hours. Maybe you have a project-based business model, or potentially you might have some sort of retainers. You have a month-to-month or quarterly retainers or yearly retainers. So revenue is generated through the way you the delivering of services, and it's often tied to consultants or your team's time and expertise. So time, expertise is going to basically turn that into revenue. Now, in product-based businesses, you generate revenue by selling products to consumers. Revenue is tied to the sale of goods, and typically your pricing models include maybe you sell direct to consumers, maybe you go through the wholesale route, or maybe through retail. And if you are developing if you're thinking about developing digital products, typically you can sell those through a one-time purchase, or you can have a subscription. So those are some revenue models for digital products. Now, this is important to understand because in product businesses, you can usually make money while you're asleep. But in a services business, because your value, the value that you offer is derived from you delivering a service, you generally have to put in the hours to deliver that service. So making money passively takes a bit longer, might not be even achievable in a services business when you compare that to a product business. However, you can start making money and get more money, and hopefully get also more sleep and better sleep in most cases after you've grown the business a bit, and maybe you've hired a team who will take on some of the responsibilities that you had to do yourself. So, and from another source of revenue, or another revenue model for services businesses is, and this is something we covered last week, this concept of productization. What is productization? Is the process of packaging services that you offer into some sort of standardized and tangible offerings with a specific list of features and deliverables and pricing. So that's one thing. You can check out the episode from last week and learn more about productization. And we covered that towards the end of the episode. Also, another revenue model for service businesses is reselling software. So if you are an IT consulting firm and you recommend 3, 4, 5 different type of security and maybe firewall monitoring software, you can potentially have a reseller agreement with the manufacturer, and then you resell that software to your clients. Or maybe you're a marketing agency, or you could be maybe a financial advisor, and you have maybe a dashboard for your clients to see how their portfolio is doing. Or maybe you're an accountant and you have relationships with payroll services, with the accounting system services, and you can offer your clients the option to buy these through you, or maybe through like an affiliate link. So you can build a recurring revenue model here from selling a product to complement the services that you offer. So as you can see, there are many ways to diversify your revenue stream as a services company, and the sky is the limit. And I'm not making this up, because we have some revenue numbers here to show. Let me make sure this is on slides here. The top consulting services businesses, they generate a whole lot of revenue. For example, Accenture Consulting, 34 billion dollars. Deloitte, 25.8 billion dollars. Tata Consulting, 23.9. Capgemini is 18.7, and Cognizant, 16.8 billion. So this is not maybe very relatable to someone who's just starting a business today, but these businesses have been around for decades. But if you look around locally and regionally, you'll see service businesses thrive and grow to 7, 8, or 9 figures. So it is doable. So if your issue, maybe in your mind or based on some research, some data that you've put together, you want to start a business, you want to start a services business, and you have the expertise, and you have the expertise and you have the resources, but you don't think you can scale, especially if you have a big vision and you want to build an amazing organization and have teams in different regions. If in your mind, or based on maybe your initial research, you don't think you can grow and scale a services business, I'm hoping that with the revenue models I shared earlier, with the revenue streams that I shared earlier, and some of the examples of large consulting businesses, there's definitely room and opportunities for you to build and grow the services business. So let me pause here and see what questions come from our way. So we have one question here. Do you know how the big consulting firms got started? With an idea. Some of them have merged and have acquired they've grown in terms of by acquiring a lot of different companies. And if you look, for example, at McKinsey or any of them, they have different practices. Even those who specialize, for example, let's say we did some work with PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, they have a compliance practice, even within accounting. So they might come in and do accounting and audits, and then compliance. So some of that growth has been organic. Some of it has been through acquisition. So these are ways to grow businesses. And then in terms of the original stories, actually, that's a good thing. I don't think I've read the original stories of McKinsey and PricewaterhouseCoopers, but it is some of them have been around for a very long time. But like just like any other product company, they've started with an idea, with a market. They've done well, and then they've expanded. So and on this note of growth and scaling, as if you're just starting, mergers and acquisitions are not going to be part of your business plan initially, because you just don't have anything yet to offer for someone to buy you or someone to merge with you. But as you develop expertise, as you have maybe recurring revenue, as you have some amazing logos from your customers, as you have maybe specific proprietary workflow or processes or framework, potentially part of your growth plan could be to join hands with other consulting companies, and you can grow. And we can talk about that in a different episode. But yeah, in terms of growth and how these big companies made it, a lot of it initially started with small business owner with a couple of founders, and then you scale, you grow, you scale, then you start to merge with other companies, and you buy other companies, and you continue your growth. So yeah, good stuff. So let's move on to the 7th difference, and I'm sure here we've got the slides out of the way. Yeah, good. So the 7th difference is about customer engagement. In services businesses, it's often interfacing with customers, interacting with customers. Client engagement is often personalized and involves a whole lot of ongoing interaction. Consultants, naturally, by design, they provide they're providing services to people. They build relationships with clients, and in many cases they provide customized solutions, and they offer ongoing support and advice. I mean, offering ongoing services and advice, that's one way to grow the business, because sometimes, especially if you're a project-based services business, you do a project. Let's say you're an interior designer. You come in, you assess, you do the work, you finish the project, you get paid, it's done. No one is going to be redecorating their house next month, right? Maybe in a couple of years, maybe when they move to another house. So there's opportunity for you to grow and have these ongoing services and support, and then you can bring in that upselling and cross selling aspect, to your business. And a lot of that happens based on this interaction, and you getting to know the client really well. They get to know you, they get to trust you, so you become their advisor. You become their advisor, and they come back to you for more services or for ideas on whom to hire. So in this case, when you're running a service-based business, you want to regularly assess if you're providing the right level of contact and the right level of customizations, in your offering. You want to continue to meet the client's needs, otherwise they go elsewhere. And second, these opportunities, as I mentioned, to cross-sell and upsell will help you in growing your business. It's a whole lot cheaper. It costs you a whole lot less marketing and sales dollars to sell to an existing client than to go out and get new leads. So if the clients are happy, they're more likely to come for more, to buy more from you and want to buy more services. So for example, and I'll give you an example from an industry that is expected to have the highest projected job growth. I'll let you guess which one it is here for a few seconds. But over the next decade, this industry is estimated to experience a huge growth rate of 22% and add 804,000 jobs. So if you're looking to start a consulting business, check this out. This home health and personal care industry is booming, is expected to grow astronomically. So you can start to provide services on initially personal care, maybe medical care, and gradually you can customize those services to a certain age bracket, maybe, or different set of medical conditions. And you can also add, you can customize and augment your services. Maybe you can bring in some financial advisors who can then help your customers with estate planning, and you can then provide maybe a turnkey solution. You go to a family and you speak with the siblings, or you speak with the children and say, we take care of all the needs of the elderly in the family. So again, a lot of these ideas need to be vetted. You need to look at your own market. I'm not saying take this and run with it, but this industry is definitely booming, and there's a huge growth. So that's something to explore. But the idea here is back to what we were saying earlier. It's about customer engagement, about being close to customers, that ongoing interaction with customers. Yes, it could be taxing. You need to hire people to grow and interact with customers, but at the same time, it has a lot of benefits in terms of you have opportunities to grow. Now, on the other hand, customer engagement in product-based businesses is usually narrower. There might be some customer support aspects of a product-related, for product companies when customers have questions. This interaction, generally speaking, tends to be less personalized than in services, because you might have automated things through maybe a chat bot on your website. You could potentially have, a phone, a customer support 800 number, people call, or maybe you can do things in person or online. And if you happen to have a product and you also are in retail, for example, Apple stores, you obviously have to provide and build for that. But generally speaking, if you're selling products, you don't need as much client interaction, as much customer engagement. So with the above in mind, if you as a business owner, this might come across awkward, but if you cannot stand customer support, if you can't stand client facing project management or account management, and you'd rather focus on the technical aspect of your work, or maybe focus on some back office functions like finance and HR, especially if you're growing, if you can't, stand talking to people and supporting people and answering their questions, you must think twice before starting a services business. I've seen it. You probably have seen it as well. When someone, let's say in the hospitality industry or in the services industry, and they have no business being there, they don't smile, they have a big attitude, and they're just bothered by you asking them for help. So be honest with yourself. If your personality is not oriented towards service, but you have an amazing idea and you've done the vetting and you know that you know there's a market for what you want to sell. But if interacting with people is not your thing, you probably shouldn't start a service business. Or an alternative is you should partner with someone who can manage all client-facing aspects of the business. So that's something for you to decide, and that's something for you to be honest about with yourself and ask those around you to make sure that you're set for success. So that's on client engagement. I think we have a question, but let's just finish the next one before we answer the next question. So on the next difference, the eighth difference between product and service businesses, this relates to something called intellectual property. And a big disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not providing legal advice. I'm bringing some awareness to an area that some founders might not be familiar with, but always check with an attorney, with a trusted attorney when it comes to legal matters. So intellectual property, sometimes called IP, refers to creations of the mind. So think of inventions, designs, names, images, what have you, used in commerce, and whatever that creation is, this is protected by laws. And basically it gives these protections, they give the creator, the owners of these rights, exclusive, it will give the creators or the owners exclusive rights for a period of time. That's at a high level. So when we speak about consulting and product businesses, in consulting or in services, IP often revolves around maybe methodologies you have, something proprietary, maybe a process, a know-how, a workflow. And a lot of, in the cases of services, protecting intellectual property and confidentiality about things that are important to the business. These are typically included in contracts you sign with your clients, with contractors, with partners, industry partners, and with your employees. Now, in a product-based business, intellectual property is tied to patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, and those typically are related again to, if you're producing, designing, and developing a product, the design, the features, sometimes even the branding of the product. So there's something to keep in mind as you're thinking of starting a business, or if you've already started and now you have some IP, you definitely want to keep these ideas in mind and understand the scope of what's involved. Because if you're planning on starting a product business and it's going to be something unique and you want to protect it, then you have to invest some money in either learning, for example, how to apply for a patent and how to do the research that this is not already patented. And you might have to hire a firm to help you with this. You have to maybe hire an attorney to help you with that. So my goal here is to, again, help you find, not help you find the business idea, but help you get that business idea off the ground and find more success and get to success easier, avoiding the mistakes I've made and the issues that I see other founders make. So being aware of the difference in scope between providing intellectual property and protection and services is important versus a product is important. So in services, there isn't typically there isn't something tangible to protect and enforce. So that makes it a bit more difficult. But if you have, like I said earlier, a unique framework or process or some sort of methodology, you definitely should look into how you want to trademark it or protect it. And that's again not uncommon. Let's say large companies, PwC, Deloitte, McKinsey, they've developed proprietary frameworks for management consulting or process optimization. Those could be very valuable IP assets. Now, at the same time, product companies have to deal with counterfeits and imitations, which might be hard to enforce, in certain geographies. So that's also something for you, to keep in mind. So in general, check with your attorney and keep in mind that product companies will likely need to invest more resources in managing their IP, especially around patent laws and scope of patents. And you be aware of the scope of the patents again if you're planning to build a product and sell it and scale it. Good. So before we go to risk number 9, let's see what questions we have. Do you know? It's a good question. Do you personally know anyone who started a services business, but did not have the right personality for it? Yes, I do. And some of them people I've known, and they're friends, industry friends, and I think their business is impacted. And you hint to them, you point things out, but to each their own. I remember one founder. They were in tech, and they were developing a product that requires a lot of support in terms of installation and maintenance and upkeep, and there's a lot of configuration. So there were 3 founders. One of them was the customer support person, like he was just made for that. The other guy was more technical. When we got emails from clients, or when he got emails from clients, this wasn't me, but I knew about them. He would be annoyed. Dude, the product had a bug. It's not like the customer doesn't know how to maybe use a feature that's well documented. There were bugs, there were issues, problems in the product that you built. So why are you annoyed? And I remember we were on a conference call, and again, I got in to help from a project management perspective. I wasn't as involved with this person. So I remember on a conference call, clients were asking questions. The clients were not happy because they had to reboot the software. They have to reboot the computer for this thing to work. And he told them, you have to reboot it every hour or so, whatever. And they were doing that, but there were still issues. And he just blew up on them. He just, you don't know what you're doing. You're using the software the wrong way. Like my friend. And again, they were very reasonable. The client was very reasonable. And long story short, that client went elsewhere. So, especially if you have an issue with your own product, or if you're delivering a service and you or your team messed up and it happens, you have to bend over backward to make the client happy. So some people are just not made for it. Other people, this is maybe, so that was maybe like in tech, but just in services, accounting or IT services or financial advisors. Some people, if you're in the services business, you have to be responsive. You have to be the expert and show that expertise. A lot of times what I've seen is amazing experts. They know their domain really well, but when it comes to answering clients' questions, they either answer with something very technical that requires me to go to ChatGPT or Google and Google it and search for it and figure it out. And they sort of like, they're very short or curt in their answers. And maybe they point you to a help topic. They reply to your email without saying, hey, thank you so much for contacting us. and their business is not growing as much as it could be, and some of it is because it's like it's a challenge to work with them. So I would, yes, short answer is yes. I've seen people with either, again, people who are very short fuse and they're very smart. And again, I think the solution is, as I said earlier, find someone who can come in and take that role from you. And if you're by yourself, or if you're thinking to start a business and this is you have no patience for people, you gotta quickly find someone to help you in this function. Otherwise, you just really can't have a service business that's going to grow and scale without happy clients and clients who will be your will write amazing reviews and will evangelize on your behalf. So yeah, keep that in mind. Good. So moving on, we have two more differences to go over, and then we'll answer any questions that you have. One, difference number 9 is about risk and liability. So there are different types of risk. There's the risk of getting gray hair earlier than you'd hoped when you start your own business. That aside, there are two types of risk that you'll need to assume. One is, I would say, more on the business side of things, and one on the legal side of things. So on the business side, there's always the possibility there's just things will not go according to plan. Your business idea doesn't take off. There might be external factors outside of your control that would limit your growth or potentially force you to shut down the business. The pandemic wasn't, still a recent and fresh memory. Sometimes technology disruption, they take place and your services now is automated. So you have to think about that, and sometimes again you're forced to downsize or to just basically just quit, shut down the business. So the risks here are losing the money that you've invested, not counting all the time and effort and the suffering and all that. Owing money to people that that helped you along that way, and now you have to pay them back. Potentially investors, they put money in, and now if you shut down the business or you're not scaling, they're not going to be happy. So there are a lot of associated ramifications with these business risks. Now, on the legal side, there are liabilities, there are people, there are a bunch of stuff, negligence and fraud and breach of contract. So liabilities is a concern. You can also get sued for damages that occur maybe based on people using the product or maybe the service that you provided. So there are different risks under legal. So if we look at it for both types of businesses, the business risk in a services business is typically more contained compared to a product business because the investment is typically smaller. Now, for product companies, the investment again is typically larger, and the time to market is much longer than launching a service. So, hence, the risk is more involved. So and then on top of of business risk, there's legal risk, and as I said, liability. So you look at, for example, if you're a consulting company, the quality of the advice or the service you provided. So if you, for example, very simple example, you develop an e-commerce website and you're managing the site for your client and you host the website and you maintain it. What if the website goes down and then clients of your customers can't buy online? So your client's revenue is impacted. Potentially you could be liable for that. Again, that's why I covered in on our YouTube channel, you'll have a playlist on working with attorneys, and I know attorneys are expensive, but they're part of your ecosystem, just like accountants, just like other advisors. You need them. You need to make sure that the contracts you're signing with customers, that you have the level of protection that you need, that is prudent, and at the same time, if you can't afford to purchase this liability insurance to give you coverage when issues arise, the lawyer will give you the options and the risks involved, so you make a more informed decision. So there are risks even if you're providing a service, like I said, and the website goes down here, clients might come after you. So there's some liability. Now you can have professional liability insurance. That's common. It would potentially mitigate all or some of that risk. So that's something to consider. And again, speak with a trusted insurance agent, another advisor in your ecosystem. They can help you navigate some of those challenges. Now, while product businesses may face liability related to product effects or safety issues. So yes, you hear about recalls, sometimes in cars and maybe other products. You hear businesses like a toy that maybe is dangerous for infants. It's recalled. I mean, it all costs money, and potentially you could have a class action suit. So there's some things to think about as you're starting a business. It's not going to be all rosy and you're not going to be a millionaire overnight. But if you follow the advice, if you follow the not just my advice, but those who've been around for a while, those who have done what you want to do, learn to leverage that ecosystem of advisors, accountants and CFOs and attorneys, and gradually, if you can afford all of them at the same time, get their help so that you can really build a solid business, whether it's product or services. And keep in mind, it's going to depend really on the product or service that you provide. So there could be some more serious liabilities if, let's say, the home care example, if you're servicing for helping seniors, that's one level of exposure. Or maybe if you're a financial advisor and you're taking care of sensitive things in nature, so there could be more liabilities or more exposure there. Whereas maybe if you do, an example we talked about before, if you provide, organic and sustainable lawn care services, the exposure there is not going to be as you'll have smaller stakes. So as always, leverage your network, navigate through these thorny subject by leaning in on advisors in your ecosystem. In this case, talk to an insurance agent, talk to a lawyer, and research what is it that what are the common risks in your industry. That's important. Just see what's out there and talk to other business owners. Sometimes talk to competitors. They'll share with you what sort of protection they have, so you have some reference points. So those are things you can do to provide some protection. And in my experience in all the businesses, I have this trusted insurance agent. I think we've been working with him for, I don't know, over 10 years now in all the businesses that I've started. After that first interaction with him, I just go to him. I tell him where we are at the business, what stage we are in the business, how many people we have, what types of clients we're working with, and he'd come back. He's a very, very knowledgeable about business insurance. He doesn't do personal insurance, and he would just give me all the different options and what's right, and if I don't choose this sort of coverage, like the potential impact. So find someone that in your network, and if you're starting a business, you're a lead to them. So it's on them to educate you and inform you. And then as you're growing, you're buying more from them. So it's a win-win for everybody involved. Now, a final thought here. This is from recent high-stake news, just last week or so. We saw tech CEOs testifying before Congress about the impact of their technologies on users. We also read about Publicis, a global, giant ad agency, marketing agency that Purdue Pharma hired as their marketing agency of record. And Publicis Health, I believe that part of the larger company, they agreed to $350 million in settlement related to the opioid crisis. And a related story on the opioid crisis, this is from a few years ago. McKinsey had agreed to a number of settlements adding up to about $1 billion related to their work with Purdue and the Sackler family. Again, as a note, both companies, Publicis and McKinsey, they denied any guilt or unlawful activity. I won't go into that aspect of it, but reflecting on this, on what we've heard and what we've read, you might think that a consulting business or an advertisement agency is just doing its job by boosting its clients' profits, or you might think that they're knee deep in cahoots with them, with their customers, and they knew about all the issues and kind of not doing things right. You also, when it comes to the tech CEOs, you might think that Congress is going hard on these CEOs, or you might think that these CEOs fell short, of their responsibilities to protect their users. So I won't go in, that's a different discussion maybe later. But for business owners, think business development and starting a business is a tightrope to walk on. Founders, owners, and executives, they frequently they frequently weigh the business imperative of revenue and profitability, and obviously growth, against compelling ethical considerations. So I have 3 pieces of advice for founders as you begin to walk this tightrope. Think of balance. You have to balance innovation and profit, those on one side of it, and then ethical and legal responsibilities. That's just part of the game. You have to build up muscle. You have to read about it, learn about it, see what others are doing, have your compass pointing in the right direction. Second, you get expert advice. Talk to lawyers, as we said earlier, talk to subject matter experts in the area that you work in. But even after you get all that advice, at the end of the day, you have to take ownership of the final decision. So ensure your values are aligned. If you have a number of co-founders, everybody's aligned on, we got to do the right thing, and that your compass, as I said, points in the right direction. And third, don't exploit people or cut corners on things like safety, compliance, hiring, legal matters, and accounting. Cutting corners, especially early on when small and nobody's noticing, it's just going to come back and hurt you later. So be mindful of your impact, especially as a starting entrepreneur. All right. So that was the 9th difference. Now the 10th and last difference, it comes to marketing and sales. So services and product businesses, they have things in common when it comes to sales and marketing, and they differ in a lot of different ways. So for service businesses, they often focus on showcasing expertise, building product leadership, and they highlight the value of the service they offer. So when I say thought leadership, you write a book, you have a blog that you can consistently publish about your domain. You have case studies. So there's a lot of things for you to do as a business owner, as an expert, as a consultant. Also in services and consulting, relationship building and networking, they're critical for reaching and selling to your leads. Now, for product-based businesses, marketing is often focused on product branding, on advertising, e-commerce platforms, and also the way you sell the product, maybe through distribution. Again, I'm not saying this is there's some overlap in a lot of these categories between service and product, but this is more of a sort of a generalization. So also when it comes to customer reviews and testimonials, that is these days that's these are really important. People can go on, let's say you're a consultant and you have a service that you offer on Upwork. If you don't have 5 stars and you're a top tier, you might not get as many clients. So both actually for product and services, what people say about you publicly, not just word of mouth, one-to-one, but online, reviews, stars, testimonials. This could actually help you scale or help actually could destroy your business. So keep this concept in terms of customer reviews and testimonials apply to both businesses, and equally important. Now on the sales side of things, aspects of the sales process like a sales funnel, and we have a video on the ultimate guide to sales funnels. So if you're looking for a process, for a system to help you grow your business, check out that video. But those aspects of selling, they apply differently to each type of the business. So lead nurturing, pitching, doing initially maybe pitching to the manager and then later pitching to the CEO, and how you keep on educating and engaging the different stakeholders and different decision makers to buy maybe a service you offer. These are more common, to the services industry. Whereas for a product company, packaging and presentation are essential. If you have an amazing product, but it's, you go at Walmart or Safeway and just the box doesn't look good or it's just not attractive, you're not going to buy that product. So that's important. The packaging and presentation are important. Also, distribution channels, again, what can be done through, maybe you sell directly to consumer through your website, or maybe you do it through retail, or you do it through wholesale. So think of, if you're in this early stage of starting a business, or you started, look at these, what I just said in terms of marketing, and see what applies to your business, and be aware that if you are selling a product, more branding is maybe required. And maybe whether you go to consumers is one strategy, you go retail is another strategy, and then maybe do wholesale. You're gonna get a cut. You're gonna sell it cheaper to wholesalers, but you can sell it in volume. So there's some pros there. Good. So let's see what questions we have. I think we're about to wrap up here. So before we conclude, if I start a consulting business, should I do paid marketing? I don't know about should, but paid marketing is a legitimate channel. You can do a lot with paid marketing. You can go on Google ads or Facebook ads or Amazon ads, and there are other specialized services. But yeah, paid marketing is definitely that is done right, definitely works. If you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the time to learn it, you definitely bring someone in to set up those campaigns for you, because it's very easy. Those platforms, I love those platforms. At the same time, they make it very easy for you to come in, put your credit card in, and find a couple of keywords, and then put the ad copy, the text or the image, and then run the campaign. And so the platforms are making money, but maybe the campaign is not highly optimized, for you, the business owner. So I would say either do it, learn about the platforms yourself, and start with a small budget and see the return on those ads. Or especially if you want to spend a lot more money, hiring someone who knows, who's an expert in paid marketing, that's something definitely I would recommend. Now, the question is about paid marketing. I answered more about paid search marketing, but I mean, you can obviously pay ads in a magazine. You can pay for a billboard. You can pay someone to potentially. You can pay to go and exhibit at a conference. So So paid marketing, if the question is about paid search, I answered it. If it's about paid marketing, yes, you can earn, if you start to publish on your article and you are a subject matter expert, you might be quoted in a local newspaper, you might be asked to be a guest on a radio station, or maybe speak at a conference. Those are not, those are kind of earned, or those are things are not going to cost you a whole lot of money. They're going to cost you a whole lot of time. So yeah, I believe we did a live stream on marketing, so we can add the link to the description. But the answer is yes, you can do. I think you can do paid marketing, paid search marketing. Just do it diligently. Either learn it yourself or hire someone to do it for you, and start with a small budget. Learn that channel. Make sure that channel is working for you. Then expand before you try 4 or 5 other channels at the same time. Okay, so those were the second set of 5 differences. We covered 5 last week. We covered 5 this week, and it's really important to note that many businesses include some elements of both consulting and services, and also a product aspect. So potentially it could be a hybrid model. I remember in 2 of our businesses, we were doing software and we're also reselling a product. In one of the ventures, we actually developed our own product. So you can have a mixture of all of the above. But at the end of the day, if you're just starting, I would say focus on one thing. And the choice between starting a consulting or a services business versus a product business, it's going to depend on your resources, on your expertise, on your goals, the market opportunities out there. So each types of these businesses, it has its own unique advantages and challenges. The good thing is, hopefully, if you're watching and got to this point in this video, learning more about what you're getting yourself into, that's part of the preparation. That's really important. I was on a podcast yesterday with a lady by the name of Nina, and we both have found similar experiences where a lot of the founders, they don't do enough due diligence. They don't do enough research. They just sort of jump in. I'm all for jumping in head first. That's part of entrepreneurship, but do some due diligence. And part of understanding the differences between product and services, the pros and cons, is really important. So, but for a services business, the upfront investment that is required to start the business is typically significantly less. So, if you have an idea, do some vetting, talk to friends about it, see who's going to buy it from you. Make sure there's an audience for it. People want to buy it, and then don't hesitate. It's an amazing ride. The entrepreneurial journey is an amazing ride with all its ups and downs and pivots. So, and if you have any question, if there's any way I can be of help, go to our website, startupwithferris.com, Ferris spelled as F-E-R-A-S, and submit an Ask Ferris form. I offer a couple of slots every week for a 30-minute session where I just listen to you, and I provide you with my recommendations, my guidance. Typically, I get very good feedback most of the time, and people find it very useful, very helpful. And we don't pitch, we don't sell, there are no gimmicks. It's just I offer these 2 slots a week, my way of saying thank you to everyone who has helped me along the way over the years. And before we wrap it up, make sure if you're liking this content, hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel, and go on our website and sign up for our daily newsletter, The Daily Advisor, to help you build and grow your 7 or 8-figure business. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much, and see you next time.